Hey there, welcome to Help Solve the Case. I'm Christine Burke, and we are talking about the Charlie Kirk case. It is day 3, if we can even call it that, in the preliminary hearing, and we really didn't get a whole lot of done. We got a whole lot of bickering, legalese, and not too much done. But we did get some answers to some questions, so stay tuned. I'm going to talk about that. But first, I really appreciate you being here. I hope you find this helpful and informative. I really appreciate all the likes, subscribes, and most importantly, the comments. Really appreciate that. Love to answer any questions. So please take care to do that. And I try to answer the questions best I can. Really awesome, everybody, last night. Thank you so much. Lots of great questions. And I'm sure we'll have more. Thank you for being here and letting me um, hopefully entertain you, enlighten you, and let's just move forward. So today we only had a half day, and I think it seems like we only had 15 minutes of really good testimony about what was going on because of these legal arguments about what we should see and what we should not see. So they opened with talking about the judge's role and responsibility. They were talking about different transcripts and different things. Hearsay came up again. And then we ended up meeting Agent Brian Davis with the Utah State Bureau of Investigations. And I may have erred earlier with Detective Hull because I thought that was the Department of Public Safety. So maybe I got that messed up there. So Agent Davis has been there for 18 years, 27 years as a cop, DPS for 8 years, so it seems a little different. 18 years with SBI and 1 year with the sounded like Utah Transit Police or Transit Authority. He went through post 1999, almost as dinosaur as me. And he talked about different task force that he has been on, the ATF, the FBI Safe Streets, the Marshals Fugitive Task Force, OICI, public corruption. Seems like he has a lot of experience and training. Said he's worked over 60 plus homicides, and he's worked in the SBI cold case unit, which is like music to my ears. He might be someone I need to reach out to about forensic genetic genealogy. He said he's been involved or worked about 50 cases with the FBI, talked about being a Pharaoh trained, which maps the crime scene, forensic interviewer training, and he is the case agent. And he was asked about, is it normal to have 2 case agents on a case, which was weird to me. I thought maybe one was primary, one was backup. That could happen in a high profile case because you're usually working nonstop. Somebody needs some downtime. They could pinch hit for each other, like who knows. But he said it's not unheard of to have 2 on a large case. So we do have 2. And he said that the State Bureau of Investigation was the primary on the case. He talked about going down to St. George, Utah on September 11th at about 8:30 p.m. Now, this is concerning. This seems to be concerning from all the haranguing we had back and forth between the attorneys about the interview with Tyler Robinson and potentially Twigs, okay? So he said that they were flown. There was a couple people, I didn't catch all the names, some people from the FBI, some people from the SBI, and the Utah County Attorney's Office went down there. And this was to when Robinson had turned himself in. They said they got there. He said he got there about 11:30 p.m. The FBI was there and the Washington Sheriff's Office and some people from the Southern Utah SBI. About midnight, they met with federal prosecutors to make plans. They talked about the TV monitor in the interview room, right? He could see that Mr. Robinson was there. Um, and he arrived about 9 p.m. with his parents and a family friend. And he admitted that he spoke with Tyler Robinson. He also mentioned that Tyler's mom was interviewed first, and then Tyler's father, and then also the family friend, Mike Mitchell, was interviewed. They said that Agent Folger, I think I'm saying that right, hopefully, and himself, Davis, interviewed the mom. And they said at that point, Robinson was detained. At the time they were conducting the interviews, Robinson was only detained. And then after the interviews were conducted, he was formally arrested around 0400, that's 4 in the morning, on September 12th. Said his cell phone was seized. They did a search warrant for the clothing, the buccal swabs, and major case prints. Remember, we had talked about that when we were talking about the swab from Twiggs and the swab from Robinson. How did they get that? They got it from a search warrant. It did not mention, somebody in the chat, thank you, had asked about gunshot residue. How long it can last. We can talk about all that, but he did not mention that that was done. And we don't have the report, to my knowledge. If you guys have the preliminary report, I would love to see if that's in there, but we don't have that. So we don't know if that was done. They said that there was also a search warrant on Tyler's residence that was executed by the SBI team on September 12th at around 0800. And the parents, Tyler Robinson's parents' residence, a team by the FBI, the ERT, on September 12th at 1600 hours. They were talking about the close family friend, Mike Mitchell, who was interviewed. There were 2 interviews, apparently. The second interview, they said, was conducted March 31st, 2026. So not that long ago. And there were prosecutors there, Utah prosecutors. They met, it sounded like, in the courthouse in St. George. And they were talking about the 1102, which is the written statement, which is we've seen being used to authenticate videos, which has been used to detail written statements and evidence, going back and forth about this. It's hearsay, it's not hearsay, because those people are not present, okay? Mr. Mitchell is not present, so they're introducing the statement via this 1102. And I also mentioned on the DNA video that they're not bringing out the A players for this hearing, right? Because when the A players come out, every time somebody testifies, there's a possibility for impeachment and all that nonsense. And also, if people are potentially victims, they want to limit the amount of time that they're going to get cross-examined, exposed to public scrutiny, and things like that. So in lieu of bringing all these people that submitted all these videos, the neighbor, the UVU people, the impulse, whatever, the camera people from Charlie Kirk's thing, the lady with the kids, right? Remember, we've got to meet all the elements of the crime, the lady with the kids, the other gentleman with the people on the roof. All these people are coming in under these 1102s. And that's where the hearsay argument. Typically, you see people. You get the people, but they're not bringing the people. Okay? So I believe, my opinion, they're trying to limit the exposure by bringing them in through the 1102s. So Mr. Mitchell, his statement, again, is coming in under this 1102. And they talked about, Agent Davis talked about how They met with him. They gave him the blank form. He went into the other room for about an hour and came back with the completed statement. Okay. And it was provided to him. That's how it was done. So they're trying to show when he went in the other room, no undue influence and all that stuff, that he completed it on his own, right? Because we had some questions earlier. Who wrote this? Who wrote that? We can't tell. Was it after the fact? Was it before the fact? Was it before it was signed and all that stuff? Okay. So just some consideration here. If you're filling out a document or you're going to submit a document, you should be the one to complete the whole thing, right? In the same color ink, with the same handwriting style and all that. So there's no questions about anything being added after the fact, right? Okay. So then guess what? We got our answer somewhat about the bullet on the roof that we had talked about. So what roof was it? Well, we're told it was the computer science building, which was east of the location. And that it was reviewed in the agent's report so Agent Davis is testifying about that in the agent's report, Ed Snyder from the SBI, okay, I can't remember. I apologize if he recovered it or he knew about it, that it was not involved in the situation, in the Charlie Kirk investigation, quote, not according to the agent, end quote. I believe Ed Snyder recovered it, okay? And that there was no line of sight. And that's how the determination was made that this round, this recovered unfired bullet, was not involved in the investigation. It was a .223 caliber round. He stated it was a live round with the primer, not dented, and there was the projectile on the end. And he received this information from Agent Snyder. Okay, so we're hoping that there's a report from Agent Snyder about it was recovered, what they did with it. We still don't know about the other holster, potentially a holster and pistol. It's still confusing about the other item that we heard was a concealed empty holster. Then we heard it might have been a gun and then a gun in a holster. We're still confused about that. I haven't got any information of that. Okay. Then they started talking about Lance Twiggs. They identified him as the roommate of Tyler, stated he was interviewed twice. He was interviewed early morning at the St. George PD, and they made a distinction that Tyler was at the St. George PD Police Department and not at the Washington Sheriff's Office where Tyler Robinson was purported to be. He was interviewed by the FBI agents Larson and Ling. He was unsure if the buccal swab was taken, and he said that Twiggs's phone, do you say Twiggs's? Twiggs' phone was taken voluntarily, that he voluntarily gave it up. The second meeting was April 20th of this year, and it involved folks like the Utah County Attorney, Twiggs' attorney, the U.S. Attorney, Ryan McBride, L. Schultz, and Davis, and it was recorded. They talked about Twiggs being given, quote, use immunity, end quote. And that the Utah County Attorney was there, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay, so they were involved in the decision to give this use immunity. They talk about on April 28th, 2026, they got the 1102 form from Twiggs. They started talking about redactions, and the whole rest of the day, if you watched it, went back and forth about transcripts, redactions, video, what should be admitted, what shouldn't, and literally almost 3.5 hours, I mean, it seemed like 4.5 hours, 4 hours, well, with breaks, like that's it. Like that's all we have for today. I mean, it was um, very hard to watch, all kinds of craziness. And it seems to be centered around, excuse me, text messages and things like that. The defense was there, the media guy was there, the state back and forth. If you watched it, I won't belabor you with it, but that's all we got today. So we will be back tomorrow. The judge was there talking about, this is taking forever and needs to move along. The judge has said, I mean, they seem like they're going to stick to this time frame. I don't see how they're going to complete it. It sounded like when we left off that the state was going to try to do something to this material to redact it or unredact it or cut it up, so that it could be shown properly. Again, they're looking at our public rights versus the spectators' rights versus the right to a fair trial and all that stuff. It was a very distressing day with all the arguments, and so we kind of came away with nothing. Hopefully, we will get more tomorrow. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to talk about, please leave the comments below. Thank you for being here. I will be watching tomorrow and providing my coverage. And again, I'd love it if you would subscribe, trying to get to 1,000 members. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, everybody that has subscribed and commented and everything. I love hearing what your thoughts are. And I will see you on the next video. I hope you enjoy your day or night whenever you're watching this, and we'll continue. And hopefully we will get some answers tomorrow.